Welcome back to the Rush Hour with Gus, Jude and Wendell. We've got James Jammer Graham, Hero, Highlight and Hardship podcast. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thanks. Excited to get into the Triple H. He was one of my favourite wrestlers going.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's a bit loose, mate. A bit like you back in the day.
The Generation X, that's what he was part of with Shawn Michaels and X-Pac.
Yeah.
I love couldn't get enough of them.
Was the Junkyard Dog there, or no, was that before that?
Oh,
era?
yeah, the
he
Road
was in
Dogg
that era
Jesse
for
James.
sure.
He was
Ricky Steamboat, yeah.
Hulk
Ricky
Hogan.
Steamboat wasn't in D-Generation X.
I don't know.
Oh, man, I used to love it.
Hulk Hogan has sat in that exact chair where you are now. He
Hulkamania.
walked in when Maddie, myself, and MG did the Brekkie show. He walked straight in, sat down there and went, "Hey, I'm the Hulkster." And he was actually meant to go to Kyle Jackie O upstairs.
Yeah.
Because we were rating like a 2. They were rating a 20 upstairs. Yeah. And he wanted the big audience. But the security guard went, "Oh, it must be for the grill team." So he brought in. He stayed with us for 45 minutes. It was one of the best 45 minutes of our life. And he's obviously the man that I remember as being, I suppose, the number one when it came to wrestling in those 80s, 90s.
Yeah, what a legend.
Happy days. What about the Hero, Highlight and Hardship? Before we get there, awards and accolades. Man of Steel in 2008. RLIF Prop of the Year in 2008-2012. Dally M Prop of the Year in 2014. RLIF Golden Cap. What's the Golden Cap? You won that in 2022.
Yeah, you get awarded that for 50 test matches.
Wow,
so,
are you the most ever by English/Great Britain?
I think I'm just behind Adrian Morley, or maybe it's the same.
Morley, what a player he was for the Roosters.
If he wasn't suspended all the time, he'd probably have about 60 or 70. So yeah.
What an absolute legend. Let's start the ball rolling with your hero, on field, off field, someone in your life that you would say was that number one hero for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, look, I guess growing up, I never really hero worship many people. It's probably just looking back now and think about some of the strong influences on my life, and without even knowing it, it was my grandfather. The situation that he was in, he lived in one of the poorest areas in England, in a place called Maryport. With my grandma, I had my dad there. They grew up together. He went and fought in World War II and fought for the freedoms that sometimes I guess we take for granted. But what impressed me about him most was he lived in housing. Him and my grandmother and my dad, they lived in housing commission houses in the same spot, but he treated it immaculately. So you'd go up there. We'd go and spend a lot of our summers there, and if you dared to go on my granddad's patch of grass out the back,
just his pride. It was
just like immaculate, and and also the way he dressed was important as well. Like there's something about it that warms the heart when you see like old videos of my granddad like on the beach in Southport, like just a place in England, or we drive to France as kids, and they come with us. And he'd be on the beach almost like in a suit, because he was just he always wanted to look the part. And I think it's a strong message for anybody that despite the circumstances that you're in, you can still make an effort.
So you've taken that into your life as well?
As you can see, immaculately groomed kind of guy. But I think that the important thing, what it taught me is that you care. And you care about something, and he did that with his house, even though it was a government-owned house, and the way he dressed, and he was such a kind man. He didn't say too much, but he certainly made a lasting impression on me.
How proud was he when you started playing footy and he could watch you either at the game or on the BBC? Did you have any special moments where you played in a big game and he was there?
Yeah, so I've actually. But like a lot of family were involved. I'm one of 7, so a lot of family were at some of those big games. But I've got a photograph at home from when won the Super League in 2006, and it's me and my granddad awesome. with that trophy, and it's pretty special. Kind of embarrassingly, I'm holding a beer in the picture, and I'm like, I wish I didn't.
You can Photoshop that out.
Yeah, maybe look to Photoshop it out, but it's like I think it was taken on like a 2006, so I don't even think it's a digital picture. So yeah. I have to rub it out somehow.
Oh, look, I think that's fine. Sometimes we lose sight of the generation that we were and where we are now, and obviously the game's changed so much since myself and Jude and you came through. And the players, there's so much pressure on them. But even going back, so I think you were 9 or 10 grand finals, you won 2. When you lost those grand finals, How did you get up again going, mate, you know what? Because when you lose one, I lost the World Cup 2003 to England. Remember when England beat us? I've never forgotten that. That still hurts me. It's the only really big match that I've lost other than an Origin. How do you come back from losing all those grand finals? I know you won 2, but even the 2014 one with your great mate Sam Burgess, you played against him and you injured him too.
Yeah, look, I think in terms of losing grand finals, what's the alternative?
You'd rather be there, wouldn't you? You'd rather be there.
But in terms of like coming back and going again, like I honestly doubt that's and the answer to that is if you have to answer. Sorry, let me start that again. If you have to ask the question, you won't understand the answer. Like you just go again.
Yeah.
It's something that's ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, look, in terms of hardships across your life, I mean, we know that in terms of careers, they can just go sideways at different stages. Can you look back at any particular moment which is a real hardship for you, either on the field or off?
Yeah, look, I guess I'm very fortunate that I don't believe I've ever had to deal with genuine hardship as of yet. I guess the most difficult thing was probably accepting that it was over. Yeah. Like that realization and accepting of myself that my body was no longer capable of doing it anymore at a standard that I wanted to put out there each and every week. And it can be quite a difficult moment to accept that what you've done for your whole life, what you've strived and had ambitions to do ever since you can almost remember, that's no longer going to be there. And I found it difficult to accept and to start those conversations going around this isn't going to happen anymore. And you know the build up to that last ever game, and you know even thinking back to when I was young and naive and like legitimately thought I'd play forever. Yeah. Like I'd just keep on playing like until someone would not give me a contract or not pay me to play. Like I couldn't envisage doing anything else. It's all I ever wanted to do, in no matter in what capacity. And then there's a moment where you have to go, nah, it's not happening anymore. And that that in terms of like, I'm fortunate that is my hardship. And still sometimes you do find it quite difficult to accept and think that that's yesteryear. I'm still looking for a time machine. If anyone's got access to a time machine, please. No. I am the front of the queue. If you've got one, you know how to time travel, like legitimately.
It's gone.
I'm in.
It's gone.
Jimmy, you do make a good point, though, because that's where the emotion does get caught up in players when you have to announce to teammates that, hang on, there is an end for me. Or, I'm not going to be able to suit up, and we all put on this sort of suit of armour to get out there.
Does that come from the club, or does it come from you? Does that make a difference?
Sometimes you get tapped on the shoulder, sometimes you're not. But it's just that feeling of I can't be at the level that I know I want to be, and I'm going to let you down, which it's hard, isn't it?
It is, and for a lot of athletes, and myself included, there's some moments and periods of denial, and a lot of the people that you surround yourself with, it's difficult for them to have that honest conversation with you, and I can appreciate that, because nobody wants to be the bearer of that bad news that perhaps you should think about doing something else and moving on to pastures new, or you're no longer wanted. I was fortunate that I made that decision, but still it was a hard internal battle, and the warning signs were there, but I probably just wasn't willing to accept them as quickly as what I did. And just that mental hurdle of no, this is, and also because it's all I'd ever known, the unknown was so scary and frightening, because I'd become accustomed to a life of train, rest, eat, sleep,
prepare
train,
for next
game next year, internationals, this week, next week, the highs, the lows, the roller coaster. I didn't know what life was going to be like without football, and it was scary.
Yeah, I imagine it was. I remember MG spoke about Roy Simmons, who was a great mate, and he played a lot of footy with, and lost a grand final, won a grand final, and Royce was the one that actually said to him, mate, I want you to watch this tape. And MG watched it, and he knew in that moment that a great mate was saying to him, mate, we're done here.
And that's real friendship.
The hardest conversation you can have, right?
That is real friendship, because plenty of people will bullshit you and give you that positive that feedback of you know that you are going good, mate. You know what, you're right. You've still got it. Yeah. You've still got it, mate. I've seen you've still got it. It's like a real mate goes to you like, come on. Let's get.
Well, people surround themselves with yes men. You know, I feel for some of the tennis players. You sit there and go, "Who's that village around them in the box?" Saying, "Oh, you can still do this," or
the village has got to be
hard, there. They've got to be
for everything. They've got to be there for everything.
Let me ask you this. Sorry, Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett, obviously, mate. I know that we've done some stuff in around Triple M, and Wayne Bennett speaks highly of you. Mate, Wayne Bennett retired me. I thought I had one more year to go. A good mate of ours, Jason Nightingale. He was on the bench, and I knew Jason Nightingale should have been starting. And Wayne said to me at the end of my career, he goes, "I've got one more year to go." And he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "1 more year." And he goes, "Mate, you got 1 more year, you'll be playing on the bench." Nightingale's going to start. They won the grand final. What did Wayne Bennett bring to you? Because I know you two have got a wonderful relationship.
Yeah, he taught me so much in such a short period of time. I can remember a quick story. Going into England camp, an Australian coach wondered how he'd tap into the narrative of being English. And we arrive in a camp, and on the schedule, it's got a trip to the regions of France and Belgium. Like, what are we going there for? We've got a test series to win. And he took us there, and speak about time travel. I can close my eyes and take myself there to those battlefields.
Wow.
And just eerily silent, and the recognition of the sacrifice that a lot of men made. And I don't know if they had that ability to even make that choice. I don't even know if it was a choice, especially those people that fought in World War One. And for Wayne to take us to places like Meningate, and that recognition of, look, we all live in the now, and we live in a bit of a bubble here, and we do take things for granted, and that's fine. Like, but I think sometimes it's like, I love different cultures, and the culture here in Australia. You go to an RSL and they stop at 6 o'clock. Put your dinner down, put your phone down, you stand up. And I love that it's that recognition of our servicemen and women. But for Wayne, he taught me about that sacrifice, and some of the places that we went to in Belgium and France, and the place in Belgium where they actually play the last post every single day at, I think, 8 o'clock. I can't remember the name of the town. YEP.
Ypres.
Ypres. They play, and actually, I learned so much on that short trip. I went back with my dad. I was so inspired. A couple of years ago, I was back in England. I was like, me and my dad went on like went into Paris, and then drove to these to places like Meningate and Ypres in Belgium, and just soaked it all up. And it's an important lesson. I think it's something that any individual should do at some point in their life. And thanks to Wayne, I got to experience that and have that appreciation for what we have.
Yeah, it's a beautiful moment. Thanks for taking us there, Jimmy. Let's talk about the last part of the 3 H's, the highlight. Hard to pick one, but if you can give us one out of your career that obviously spanned across a couple of different continents.
Yeah, it's a tough split between my first game and my last game.
Okay, talk us through the first game first.
First game, I'm 17. This is all I've ever dreamed of doing, and finally I get to do it. And
when did you know you were selected? When did you know you were selected?
I was like maybe 2 or 3 days before I was before the game, so I had like a little bit of a training week, but just beyond nervous. Only 17 at the time. I wasn't ready. There was a huge injury, problem at the club, unfortunately, and I get the chance, but still, like a surreal start to life in first grade. And it's very different then, you don't get the photos with the jersey, and there's no surprise camera, and you're crying and all that. It was just like, you're playing. Yeah. Like, it was very different. Yeah. Not like it is now, and there's this whole hoo-ha, and they bring surprise guests in, and it's all over Instagram. It was just like, you're making your debut, and then I'm like, whoa, panic, and then I'm making the calls to my granddad and my dad.
Gotta get there.
Like, hey, can we scrape him for get 2 free tickets for the game? That's about it. It's like, how do we get more? But
who'd you play against?
Castleford Tigers.
And how'd you go?
We won.
How did you go?
I think I survived. I'm here to tell the tale.
Yeah. So from that moment on, you played until you left to come to Australia. You played first grade from that moment on.
No. That was grade, That was back. It was in for a week and see you next year for first grade. So I really made my mark and impression. You know, I certainly wasn't one of these kids that came through and everyone's like, "Oh, he's one to watch." It was just like he did a job and continue on with your development, lad. So, but I'll go with that game, and I'll tell you why. Rather than the last, so I actually spoke to my father on a podcast called Head Noise and talking about the effects of concussion and sort of a build up to my life as a footballer. And we had another journalist on, Jess Halloran, who asked the question of my dad about like what was your proudest moment, and he said the debut, and that rocked me. I was like going, I was like, I didn't realize what it meant to you, and he made. Like I was one of 7 kids. Him and my mum and the rest of my family made so many sacrifices along the way. I didn't realize that it was that made that made such an impact on him. And he made all those sacrifices not for me to get there. It was to make me a better person, give me a greater understanding of the world, develop skills and attributes that sport instills in people that are willing to learn. And there's so many beautiful things that sport brings us. But for me to hear my father speak about seeing his son make his debut, of all the games, I was like, Dad, I played 20 minutes. And he was like, no, but son, that was beyond special for me. It was just this accumulation of your hard work that he'd witnessed and all the sacrifice and the grueling training and the sideways rain and the snow and getting belted as a kid and all this sort of stuff. He was just like, that's what it meant to him. So I think when you look back and you reflect, the impact that you can have on other people is an incredible thing rather than a feeling that you get yourself. And I had some great moments along the way that did impact others. But that particular moment in time for my dad, for him to say that and have that conversation with him, which is another thing I think we should have more conversations with our loved ones about events from yesteryear, both good and bad. But that conversation will stay with me, and that's why I'm going to pick my debut.
Amazing. That's beautiful. Thanks, mate. 206 games in the Super League, 135 for the Doggies, 51 for the St George Illawarra side, and you played in 13 NRL finals and all the test matches as well. Jimmy Graham, thanks for joining us on the HHH podcast.
Absolute pleasure, gents. Thank you for having me on.